lights inside the studio dimmed slowly, and a pulse of bass hummed through the air like something was about to break. The crowd wasn't cheering yet. They were waiting. Watching. Phones already recording. The massive screen behind the stage flickered to life, flashing white words across black. The Miles Donovan Show. Exclusive. A single spotlight snapped on, revealing Miles himself. Too confident. Too perfect. His sharp navy suit didn't wrinkle, and his grin looked like it had been rehearsed for weeks. He stepped forward with fake warmth and a voice full of ego. "Tonight's not about cinema," he said with a slow smile. "It's about watching legends fall, and maybe one rise where you least expect it." The audience laughed, unsure if they were supposed to. They didn't know what was coming. Neither did he. The screen behind him shifted again. A bold title appeared. "The New Face of Wick," and the audience started buzzing. Miles stretched out an arm. "She's fierce, she's fearless, and she might just ruin everything John Wick ever stood for. Please welcome Ana de Armas." She walked onto the stage like she belonged there, not proud, not arrogant, just calm. All black, no sparkle. Her eyes held more truth than words could ever explain. She didn't smile wide, just enough to show she saw everything. Every fake cheer, every silent judgment. Miles gave her a fake hug and gestured to the seat. "You clean up well for an assassin," he said with a smirk. Ana sat down slowly, crossing one leg over the other. "I clean up better than most villains," she said. The crowd chuckled, but a few jaws tightened. He leaned forward like a snake, sniffing weakness. "Let's be honest, Ana. When they gave you the role, did you think, 'Wow, finally I get to be John Wick'? Or did you wonder if they were just out of men?" The silence hit hard. Ana looked at him, not angry, just still. "No," she said. "I thought maybe it's time a woman didn't need permission to carry the story." A few people clapped, hesitant at first, then stronger. Miles blinked. He hadn't expected her to hit back so soon. So clean. He turned to the other side of the stage, hoping to regain control. "And of course," he said louder, "we couldn't talk about the future without bowing to the past." The crowd started shifting. Phones raised higher. Everyone knew what was coming. "And here he is," Miles continued. "The man who made grief look cool. The reason every guy bought a black suit and wanted a dog, Keanu Reeves." The audience exploded. Keanu walked out, quiet, collected. No flash, no performance. Black blazer, jeans, t-shirt, chain around his neck barely visible. He gave a small nod and sat beside Ana like he was there for a funeral, not a show. Miles forced a smile. "Tell me, Keanu, what's it like watching someone else take over your legacy? Does it sting, or just tickle a little?" Keanu didn't flinch. He looked at Miles, then at the audience, then back at Miles, and said nothing. Just one heartbeat. Two. And the silence became louder than the question. Before we continue this story, let us know where you're watching from. And if you enjoy stories like this, subscribe to the channel, because tomorrow we have another special story for you. Miles chuckled, tapping his note cards like a magician preparing his next trick. All right, he said. "Don't get all monk on me, Keanu. I'm just saying, John Wick wasn't exactly about lip gloss and eyeliner." And now, he turned to Ana with a smirk. "We're supposed to believe the Baba Yaga shops at Chanel?" A few nervous laughs escaped from the back rows, but most of the room stayed quiet. Ana didn't even blink. "There's still blood," she said. "Just better lighting." The room stirred. A few people clapped, unsure if they were allowed. Miles tilted his head, acting impressed. "Nice line. Who wrote that for you?" Ana didn't answer. Miles leaned back, but his voice sharpened. "Let's be honest here. John Wick was a symbol, a storm in a suit, raw vengeance. Now he's being, what, rebranded with cheekbones and a smoky eye?" Keanu sat up straighter. He wasn't smiling. "You think vengeance comes with a beard?" he asked, his voice soft but direct. Miles froze. I didn't say that. No, Keanu said. But you meant it. The crowd reacted again, louder this time. A few people in the front row started nodding. Miles tried to brush it off, waving his hand in the air. Hey, look, I'm all for progress, he said, eyes scanning the crowd for approval. But this franchise was built on grit, not glitter. Isn't this shift just trying too hard? Anna leaned forward. Trying too hard is assuming pain belongs to men. The room locked up. Miles laughed nervously. Okay, now we're getting deep. He fumbled his cards, then found another angle. Let's talk about training. Anna, when you got the call, were you in the middle of a photo shoot? Or a Pilates class? No, she said. I was training. 6 hours a day. Miles raised an eyebrow. So, not a spa weekend? Anna looked at him like she was done playing along. If I were a man, would you ask if I got the role between beers and football? That hit. The crowd snapped. Applause burst out, some people even standing. Miles blinked like the lights had just gotten brighter. Okay, he said, pretending to laugh. No need to bite. Keanu finally looked at him again. She didn't bite, he said. She endured. Miles tried one last jab. But still, Keanu, you've been Wick for what, 10 years? Now you're just letting it go? Doesn't it feel weird, sitting on the bench while someone else runs the game? Keanu didn't answer right away. He leaned forward slowly, resting his elbows on his knees. His voice was low, but every word cut clean. You ever see someone pass a torch? He asked. Miles hesitated. Sure. Ever see someone say the flame lost value? Just because it's in a different hand? That landed like a punch. The audience clapped again, harder. A woman in the back let out a whistle. Someone up front stood. Miles tried to smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. Miles shifted in his seat, crossing and uncrossing his legs, like the chair had suddenly become uncomfortable. He forced a chuckle, eyes darting between Keanu and Anna. Okay, he said, voice lighter. So now John Wick is emotional? He raised an eyebrow. What's next? Grief counseling and bullet journaling. Keanu didn't move. Anna leaned slightly toward her mic. You're confusing femininity with fragility, she said. That's your problem, not mine. That landed like a stone. A few gasps. Applause cracked through the crowd, louder now, firmer. The energy had shifted. Miles still smiled, but it had started to feel more like a mask. He straightened his posture, changing tone. All right, real talk, he said, voice soft but sharp. This franchise, it's masculine, minimal, brutal. Aren't you worried that putting a woman at the center might dilute that? Anna stared at him. Her voice stayed steady, but colder now. The only thing that dilutes a story is when it stops evolving. Miles opened his mouth, but she kept going. And maybe the problem isn't a woman taking the lead. Maybe the problem is some people thinking violence only matters when it's delivered by a man. The audience broke into cheers. Real ones. Long ones. Miles flinched, eyes narrowing just for a second. Okay, he muttered, flipping through his cards. Didn't mean to stir the pot. He turned back to Keanu, desperate for an ally. Come on, help me out. This is Wick we're talking about. Rage, focus, cold-blooded hits. Now it's slow-mo gunfights and perfume ads. Keanu shrugged slightly. You talk a lot about violence, he said, but you don't seem to understand what drives it. Miles leaned in, mocking curiosity. Oh, please, enlighten me. Keanu's eyes didn't blink. Loss, grief, being told you don't belong in your own story. The room fell silent. He looked at Anna. And if you think only men carry that, you haven't been paying attention. Thunderous applause. Whistling. People on their feet again. Miles leaned back in his chair, swallowing a smirk. He forced out another dry laugh, lifting a new card. Okay. So she's dangerous, fierce, poetic. Got it. But let's talk relevance, Keanu. You're in your 50s, still doing stunts. Doesn't it feel like the industry's moving past you? Keanu smiled, just a little. You ever watch a sunset? Miles blinked. What? Doesn't make it less beautiful just because night's coming. The crowd roared. A man stood up near the back, clapping hard, yelling something like, "Legend!" Miles blinked, clearly trying to get back in control, but his fingers trembled against his cue cards. Miles sat back, adjusting his tie even though it was already perfect. His voice lowered, almost friendly now. You know what I've always admired about you, Keanu, he said. You don't chase relevance. No scandals, no flashy drama. But in this business, if you're not the headline, you're background noise. And now, you're just the guy sitting quietly while someone else holds the gun. He smiled thinly. Isn't that a little tragic? Keanu blinked once. No, he said. Miles raised his eyebrows. No? Keanu's voice didn't rise. It's not tragic, he said. It's necessary. The room leaned in. Even the cameras seemed to move slower. There's a difference between fading and stepping aside, he continued. One is fear. The other is choice. He turned to Anna. And I chose. Anna looked at him, not smiling, just seeing him. The audience clapped again, but this time it wasn't wild. It was respectful, grounded. Miles tried to shake it off. So, now you're the mentor, he said, reaching for a laugh. The Obi-Wan of Wick. Cool. But let's be real. This generation, they don't remember actors. They remember memes, clips, noise. And when that light fades, what's left? Keanu's smile returned. Not smug. Reflective. You ever light a fire? He asked. Miles nodded slowly. Yeah. Then you know, Keanu said, that a flame doesn't die if it's passed right. The crowd clapped louder, stronger. A standing ovation from the right side of the room. Miles tried not to flinch, but the tension had crawled into his shoulders. He leaned forward again, voice dipping. But aren't you afraid? He asked. That one day this chair will be empty. That the name Keanu Reeves will just be a reference. Keanu looked at him for a long second. His voice dropped. You only worry about being forgotten, when you know you never gave anyone a reason to remember you. The words hit like silence after a storm. The crowd didn't erupt. They rose, slowly, respectfully. No cheering, just reverence. Anna stood beside Keanu, lifting her mic with calm clarity. Being the protagonist, she said, isn't about gender. It's about courage. The final applause hit like a wave, earned, emotional, united. Miles didn't move. The cards in his hand were wrinkled now. His grin faded. He looked smaller in his own spotlight. And maybe that was the real twist. The man who made a career out of mocking others had finally run out of ways to deflect the truth. The screen faded to black. No outro music, no final joke. Just white text, fading in slowly. It's not about fame. It's not about who speaks louder. It's about the courage to speak last, when it matters most.